and that the was about handcuffs, choking, putting on dog collars.
Do you get those at Petco?
Regular routine was that Shannon then they would.
Why was that relevant?
The Shannon Sharpe scandal has spiraled into a labyrinth of jaw-dropping allegations, leaked tapes, and eyebrow-raising claims that have captured the public's insatiable appetite for celebrity intrigue. This isn't just a story about a sports legend under scrutiny, it's a chaotic web of personal revelations and sordid whispers that have left even the most seasoned gossip enthusiasts reeling. From intimate audio recordings to salacious accusations, the narrative surrounding Sharpe's private life is as shocking as it is surreal.
Are now beginning to bring up past things that have happened with Shannon Sharpe, including a temporary restraining order that was filed against him back in 2010 from a woman that he was dealing with at the time who accused him of sexual assault. He said in different things. Now, this was dropped, it was dismissed, that restraining.
The leaked audio is where the story truly takes a sinister turn. In one clip, a voice alleged to be Sharpe's erupts in frustration, threatening to choke a woman during what appears to be an emotionally charged phone call. The tone, the words, even the pauses, every detail of that recording is dripping with tension. And it's left listeners divided. Was it a moment of unfiltered anger, a misunderstanding? Or, as some insist, proof of something far more troubling? The woman on the other end of the call, identified in some reports as Jane Doe, doesn't sound like someone engaged in playful banter. Her responses are hesitant, her tone uneasy, adding a disturbing layer of plausibility to the allegation.
His attorney offered that up publicly.
To me, her turning it down shows that it's not a money grab.
No, it shows that it's a bigger shakedown.
But it doesn't end there. As if this audio bombshell wasn't enough to send the media into a frenzy, text messages allegedly exchanged between Sharpe and his accuser have surfaced, painting a vivid picture of their unconventional relationship. These messages are explicit, revealing a dynamic that some might describe as consensual, but others find deeply unsettling. The texts reportedly include requests and exchanges so specific and personal that they've sparked debates not only about their authenticity, but about what they reveal about Sharpe's private life. His legal team has countered, claiming these messages prove the relationship was mutual and consensual. But critics argue they only deepen the intrigue and suspicion.
Alrighty, y'all. So the Shannon Sharpe ESPN does he still keep his job conversation is beginning to, I was going to say beginning to happen, but it's been happening, but I think now it's beginning to get louder because of different things that Attorney Busby has released, including the audios. So right now the conversation is, why is Shannon Sharpe still able to be...
Adding fuel to the fire, the claims about Sharpe's alleged preferences behind closed doors have taken the internet by storm. His accusers have painted him as a man with a penchant for role-playing and dominance. And while none of this is inherently scandalous, the sheer volume of allegations emerging at once has created an atmosphere of intense scrutiny. Former partners have come forward with stories that range from eyebrow-raising to outright shocking, each one adding another layer of complexity to an already tangled narrative. And let's not forget the whispers about his past relationships, like the time he allegedly brought his stylist Tinseltown everywhere he went, igniting rumors that refused to fade away even after their professional split.
Shannon Sharpe says he's temporarily stepping away from ESPN in the wake of a $50 million lawsuit accusing him of rape. A woman filed suit against Sharpe on Sunday, accusing him of raping her twice.
And then there's the infamous live broadcast, a moment that still has people scratching their heads. Sharpe's decision to go live on social media while, let's say, engaging in a private moment with a partner, raised more questions than it answered. Was it an accident, as he claimed, or a calculated move to dispel rumors about his private life? His partner at the time has since suggested it was the latter, a desperate attempt to steer public perception, but the jury is still out. The live stream, coupled with the string of accusations now surfacing, has only deepened the public's fascination with what's really going on behind the scenes.
On Easter Sunday, a lawsuit was filed in state court in Nevada against Hall of Fame tight end Shannon Sharpe because he has become such a massive media star, especially in the past few years. The lawsuit is going to attract.
The fallout from these revelations has been swift and unforgiving. Comedians, commentators, and even former colleagues have jumped into the fray, each offering their own take on Sharpe's situation. Some have mocked him openly, using his nickname, Shay, as a punchline, while others have expressed outright disdain, questioning his character and his choices. It's clear that Sharpe's public image, once defined by his athletic achievements and charismatic on-screen persona, is now being overshadowed by these relentless allegations.
That it's a claim against someone alleging that some rights were violated, and in most cases what's sought is compensation in the form of damages to make up for whatever it is the person did. And there are all sorts of civil lawsuits, car accidents, defamation. We hear about that a lot because people get sued about things that are said about them in media.
But what's truly unsettling is the way the narrative keeps shifting. For every denial from Sharpe's camp, there's another leak, another accusation, another piece of this increasingly complicated puzzle. His legal team has described the lawsuits against him as shakedowns, but the sheer volume of claims and the detail in the accusations make it difficult to dismiss them outright. And while some of his defenders argue that he's the victim of opportunistic attacks, others point to his own words and actions as evidence that there's more to this story than meets the eye. What's perhaps most striking is how deeply personal these accusations have become. They're not just about alleged misdeeds. They're about identity, control, and the blurred lines between public and private life. The leaked texts, the audio recordings, the whispers about his former relationships. All of it paints a portrait of a man whose private life is now under the harshest possible spotlight. And as more details emerge, the question isn't just whether the allegations are true. It's what they reveal about the culture of celebrity, the power dynamics at play, and the lengths people will go to protect or exploit those dynamics.
That's how we found out about the lawsuit against Shannon Sharpe. Now, this one has some very strong allegations: sexual assault, sexual battery, assault and battery, intentional infliction of emotional distress. The sexual components obviously give it greater gravity than a car accident or any case based on some sort of negligent slip and fall, something like that, where someone was just being careless.
Even the timing of these allegations feels calculated, almost theatrical. As Sharpe's career reached new heights with lucrative deals and a growing media presence, the accusations have come crashing down like a tidal wave, threatening to erase years of hard-earned success. Is it a coincidence, or is there something more deliberate at play? And as his accusers continue to speak out, it's clear that this story is far from over. Each new piece of evidence, each new claim, adds another layer to a scandal that seems to have no end in sight.
Tony Busby says this is key evidence in our case against Mr. Sharpe, so it will not be coming out. He will not be leaking this.
And saying basically it's going to come out during the trial.
Right.
If there's a trial.
If there's a trial, it will come out, which to me sounds like he's still dangling it over Shannon's head to say, we can meet, we can settle this, or we can go forward into a trial, and then the video is going to come out.
And yet, for all the chaos and controversy, one can't help but wonder what's still lurking beneath the surface. The audio recordings, the text messages, the whispers of past incidents quietly swept under the rug. It feels like we're only scratching the surface of a much larger story, one that could redefine not just Sharpe's legacy, but the way we view fame, power, and accountability in the modern age. What happens next could unravel everything or reveal truths even more shocking than what we've already seen. And yet, as this storm rages on, the chaos surrounding Shannon Sharpe is only getting louder, more tangled, and infinitely messier. The legal battle itself is a powder keg, with every new court document and public statement adding fuel to an already explosive situation. Just when you think the narrative can't possibly get any more convoluted, another revelation drops, sending shockwaves through both the media and Sharpe's increasingly divided fan base.
The news, Shannon Sharpe. So you guys remember that video that Shannon Sharpe was saying was going to release?
Yes,
That
it did.
No.
Oh.
So let's talk about the lawsuit, the $50 million claim that has become the heartbeat of this scandal. It's not just the figure itself that's staggering, it's the sheer audacity of the accusations and the ferocity with which both sides are fighting. The plaintiff's legal team, led by the ever-controversial Tony Busby, has been relentless, orchestrating a media blitz that feels almost surgical in its precision. Every detail, every alleged incident, every damning piece of evidence has been laid bare in a way that seems designed to maximize public outrage, Busby isn't just pursuing a legal victory. He's crafting a narrative, one that paints Sharpe as a man who wielded his status and influence to control and demean those closest to him.
According to reports, that video will not be released. Attorney Tony Busby came out and said that they are not planning to release that video, how they were dropping audio, because it's a very strong point of their evidence in this case, and they're going to keep it and use it as such.
Court.
Yeah. Now, that is interesting because Shannon Sharpe, remember, he kept saying he believes the video was going to come out. He believes the video was going to come out. So there's been a change.
But Sharpe's camp isn't sitting quietly in the corner licking their wounds. His attorney, Lanny J. Davis, has gone on the offensive, describing the entire lawsuit as a cynical grab for money and attention. And while that line of argument might resonate with some of Sharpe's supporters, it's not exactly a silver bullet. After all, the leaked audio and text messages don't lie, or at least that's what the plaintiff's team would have you believe. Davis, however, insists that these so-called evidence clips are being taken out of context, manipulated to fit a narrative that doesn't align with the reality of the situation. He's even hinted at the possibility of counter-litigation, accusing the plaintiff and her legal team of defamation and malicious intent.
Another interesting thing, too, and this is why I said, I've never seen anybody handle a situation worse than Shannon and his team. After this came out, we would have never known about that so-called video if it wasn't for Shannon Sharpe.
Yes.
Yeah.
Shannon jumped out there and revealed that video existed. And he did that for no reason because they wasn't even planning on putting it out.
And then there's the court of public opinion, where the battle is even more ruthless. Social media has become a war zone, with hashtags alternating between support for Sharpe and calls for accountability. On one side, you have devoted fans defending him with a near religious fervor, dismissing the allegations as baseless attempts to tarnish a legacy. On the other, you have critics who see the lawsuit as the tip of the iceberg, a long overdue reckoning for a man they believe has hidden behind his fame for far too long. The debates are heated, the comments sections are unhinged, and the entire internet feels like it's teetering on the brink of total chaos.
Once again, I've never seen anybody handle a situation worse than Shannon and his team. Like they just handled it wrong from the beginning, from the whole beginning.
Yeah, well.
But the social media backlash isn't limited to faceless accounts and anonymous commentators. Public figures have joined the fray, each weighing in with their own agenda. Some have taken the opportunity to critique the media's role in amplifying scandals, arguing that the coverage itself often turns allegations into convictions in the court of public opinion. Others, however, have used the moment to call for broader discussions about accountability, particularly for men in positions of power. Even celebrities who've never directly crossed paths with Sharpe have chimed in, their statements ranging from vague sympathy to pointed criticism. It's a feeding frenzy, and whether Sharpe is guilty or not, he's become the poster boy for a much larger cultural reckoning. But what's most gripping, what keeps people glued to their screens, refreshing their feeds for the latest updates, is the way this story keeps evolving. Just when the narrative seems to settle into one direction, something happens to flip the script. Take, for instance, the whispers about potential new accusers. Yes, you heard that right. There are rumblings, unconfirmed for now, but persistent, that more people might be preparing to come forward. And if that happens, if even one more person steps into the spotlight with allegations against Sharpe, it could be the nail in the coffin for his career and reputation.
He didn't want everything to happen immediately.
Absolutely.
It's only Thursday.
Instant. They want everything to instantly happen. It doesn't work like that.
The righteous people on Reddit, baby, they are dissecting and divulging right now.
And let's not ignore the elephant in the room. The role of Sharpe's own personality in this unfolding drama. Known for his brash confidence and unfiltered commentary, Sharpe built a career on being unapologetically himself. But that same larger-than-life persona, which endeared him to fans, may now be working against him. Critics say his outspoken nature makes it harder to separate the man from the allegations. Every bold statement, every fiery rebuttal, it all feels like part of the same pattern. A personality so used to dominating the conversation that it struggles with vulnerability. On one hand, his defiance might be an act of courage. On the other, it could be seen as arrogance, a refusal to take responsibility when it matters most. There's also the matter of the alleged role-playing dynamic between Sharpe and the plaintiff. While his legal team has tried to frame this as evidence of a consensual relationship, it's a double-edged sword. To some, it humanizes him, showing a side of his personality that's private and vulnerable, but to others, it's damning. A glimpse into a power dynamic that feels, at best, questionable and at worst, deeply exploitative. And let's not forget the broader implications here. In an era where conversations about consent and power imbalance are more urgent than ever, this case isn't just about Shannon Sharpe, it's about what he represents. the intersection of fame, privilege, and accountability.
Like the Deshaun Watson cases where there were 20 plus plaintiffs and they weren't really sure who the people were who were making the claims. In this case, Shannon Sharpe knows exactly who it is because there had been, and it's clear from the statement issued by his lawyer, Lanny Davis, there had been some pre-litigation efforts to try to resolve this.
Meanwhile, whispers from Sharpe's past have started to resurface, raising questions about whether this is truly the first time his private life has collided so violently with his public image. Former colleagues have quietly hinted at moments of tension behind the scenes, with some suggesting that Sharpe's commanding personality could sometimes cross the line. While no formal complaints were ever made public, the rumors have added fuel to the fire, painting a picture of a man whose charisma may have masked deeper issues. And while it's important to separate speculation from fact, the sheer volume of these whispers is enough to make even his staunchest defenders pause. Meanwhile, Sharpe's career hangs in the balance, and the stakes couldn't be higher. His temporary step back from ESPN has been framed as a personal decision, but let's be real, it's damage control, plain and simple. You don't just walk away from a gig like that unless you're under serious pressure, whether from network executives, sponsors, or the court of public opinion. And the timing couldn't be worse. With the NFL preseason looming, his absence is glaring, and the speculation about whether he'll return or even be allowed to continues to swirl. And then there's the question of what this means for Sharpe's legacy. For years, he's been celebrated not just as a Hall of Fame athlete, but as a cultural icon who transcends sports. His transition from the field to the media world was nothing short of meteoric, with fans praising his ability to comment on everything from football to social issues. But now, that legacy is under threat, and the fallout could be devastating. The endorsements, the podcast empire, the public appearances, everything hangs in the balance. For someone who built a career on being unfiltered and authentic, the irony is painful. The very traits that made him a star might now be the ones that bring him down.
Essence from Atlanta, him refusing to look at the evidence just gives me the impression that he wants plausible deniability, and maybe the evidence should be released so that way he does not deny his actions. I mean, if that was me, I would definitely want to look at the evidence to see what I did and did not do so I can maintain my innocence.
And then there's the looming specter of that alleged tape. Yes, the one that Sharpe himself has alluded to in his public statements. He claims it's being weaponized against him, edited and manipulated to paint him in the worst possible light. But here's the thing. If that tape exists, and it's as incriminating as some suspect, it could be the smoking gun that seals his fate. On the flip side, if it's released and turns out to be less damning than anticipated, it could shift the narrative in his favor. Either way, the mere existence of this tape has become a lightning rod for speculation, a shadow hanging over every twist and turn in this saga. And let's not overlook the ripple effects this scandal is having on those around him. Former colleagues and associates are being dragged into the fray, either as potential witnesses or as collateral damage. Even his family isn't immune, with reports suggesting that the stress of these allegations is taking a toll on those closest to him. It's a reminder that scandals like this don't happen in a vacuum. They reverberate outward, pulling everyone in their orbit into the chaos. So where does this all leave us? What's the end game here? At this point, it's impossible to say. The lawsuits are ongoing, the public opinion is polarized, and the narrative continues to shift with each passing day. But one thing is certain, this story is far from over. With every new revelation, every leaked piece of evidence, and every statement from either side, the stakes get higher, the tensions mount, and the questions grow louder. What do you think? Is this a calculated takedown of a public figure? Or are we witnessing the unraveling of a carefully constructed facade? Are these allegations a turning point in how we hold the powerful accountable? Or just another chapter in the endless cycle of celebrity scandals? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below, and as always, stay tuned, because this story is only getting started.